Okay, let's dive into this. Store products, wait for orders, ship. It paints such a nostalgic picture of the old, simple supply chain, doesn't it? And for years, this basic assumption worked perfectly. Factories made things, regional warehouses stored them, customers eventually asked for them, and trucks just moved them from point A to point B. It was simple, it was straightforward, and frankly, it was pretty easy to manage. But then e-commerce exploded, customer expectations totally accelerated, and suddenly just competing locally, it wasn't going to cut it anymore.
To understand why that old model broke down so spectacularly, you have to imagine scaling up the complexity. The scale of modern complexity is wild. Picture a single distribution center trying to manage 5,000 daily orders, spanning 45,000 distinct SKUs, serving 1,500 incredibly demanding customers, all while relying on thousands of global suppliers. At this immense scale, a single delayed supplier shipment, a sudden drop in capacity, or literally just one piece of missing inventory triggers a massive operational crisis. The old model simply snaps under all this weight. And when that system snaps, you get what we call the reactive chain reaction. Imagine your dashboards just flashing red with disruption and risk. Teams instantly switch into pure survival mode. They start expediting incredibly expensive premium freight. They're escalating material shortages. Planners are desperately negotiating delivery dates and reprioritizing production runs completely on the fly. And the most painful metric of all? Your on-time in-full deliveries, your OTIF, goes into a sharp, terrifying decline. Logistics costs just explode, and tragically, companies start confusing frantic daily firefighting with actual strategy.
So we have to halt the chaos right here and ask a really crucial question. Is operational firefighting sustainable at scale? And the answer, unequivocally, is no. You simply cannot outwork a poorly designed system. The organization absolutely must stop thinking on this reactive, shipment-by-shipment basis. It has to pivot. It has to move toward intelligent, network-by-network orchestration. To really understand how to orchestrate that kind of network, we actually have a brilliant cross-industry analogy. Let's look at the aviation paradigm shift. Decades ago, airlines faced their own massive profitability crisis. Their old model was direct routes, right? City A to City B. But those flights were plagued by half-empty planes, terrible aircraft utilization, and major financial instability. Instead of just blindly raising prices, innovators like Delta Airlines totally changed the architecture. They shifted to new hub routes. They routed passengers from City A into a central hub and then out to City B. It consolidated passengers, stabilized the route economics, and suddenly made global access highly efficient.
And this route right here brilliantly illustrates exactly how it works in practice. Budapest to London to Sao Paulo. Imagine trying to travel from Budapest to Brazil. In the old model, an airline would have to run a highly expensive, extremely low utilization direct flight. But by routing through a central hub, like London, they consolidate passengers from all over Europe onto one massive, fully utilized flight over to South America. This increases the overall frequency of flights, it stabilizes the daily operations, and it keeps costs down for everybody.
Now, let's bring those glowing blue lines of aviation logic back down to earth and right into our warehouses. This brings us to the hub-and-spoke model. It's a supply chain architecture that intelligently orchestrates flow rather than moving everything everywhere. This exact same logic takes a chaotic, heavily fragmented transportation network and transforms it into a beautifully coordinated system. Because here is the secret. Supply chain optimization is not about moving everything everywhere all at once. It's a strategic architecture.
Let's break down the intelligent mechanics of these network roles. First up, we have the hub. Think of this as your central intelligence center. Its operational outcome is to take in all the messy supplier flow, consolidate it, and centralize the bulk of your inventory. Then you have the spoke. These are your market connection points. They hold leaner inventory, but they stay much closer to the end customers, which drastically reduces your lead times. This architecture perfectly balances elite service levels with tightly controlled transportation costs. It is a massive, strategic, competitive advantage. When you look at orchestrating intelligent flow, the stark contrast between the old way and the new way is basically night and day. On one hand, you have moving chaos. Half-empty trucks, urgent and fragmented deliveries, totally uncoordinated replenishment, it's just pure waste. But on the other hand, you have moving flow. With a hub-and-spoke model, suppliers deliver into hubs using highly efficient milk-run collections. You're suddenly running full regional truckloads out to the spokes. The entire distribution becomes this synchronized, optimized green logistics flow that literally eliminates the need for expensive premium freight.
And the financial results of moving from that chaos to flow, they're staggering. 30%. That massive optimization right there represents the reduction in overall transportation expenses that many large retailers have achieved simply by implementing this centralized logistics coordination. And you know what the most fascinating part is? They didn't do this because diesel fuel magically got cheaper or because truck drivers took pay cuts. No, they achieved this massive cost reduction simply by controlling their own operational variability.
But an optimized network isn't just about moving trucks around. It relies heavily on inventory intelligence. One of the biggest myths in all of logistics is that adding more warehouses automatically means better service. It actually often does the exact opposite by tying up all your cash in duplicated stock. Hub and Spoke changes this entirely. Slow-moving stock is kept centralized in the hub to absorb demand variability without wasting premium space. Meanwhile, fast-moving stock is intelligently segmented out to the spokes so it remains highly agile and right near the buyer's demand. This segmentation improves your cash flow and your replenishment speed at the exact same time.
Now, what's really interesting here is how this explains the magic behind the predictive fulfillment engine of companies like Amazon. People are always asking, how do they achieve same-day or next-day delivery globally? Well, it's not just more warehouses. They implement a hub-and-spoke architecture, they leverage heavy predictive analytics, they orchestrate dynamic inventory positioning, and they anticipate global demand signals before the customer even clicks buy. They don't react to demand anymore, they predict it.
But listen, you absolutely cannot run a predictive engine of that scale on a bunch of spreadsheets. The hub and spoke model only reaches its full potential when it's powered by a central nervous system. I'm talking about a deeply integrated tech stack, your warehouse management systems, transportation management systems, your core ERP integration, advanced inventory analytics and demand planning, and real-time transportation visibility. This interconnected stack is what gives the business total centralized control and the ability to dynamically reposition assets on the fly. And when that nervous system is fully active, we arrive at this major transformational shift. Visibility becomes competitive advantage. Think about it. If you can see a bottleneck forming at a port on a Tuesday, your network can instantly rebalance and reroute cargo by Wednesday. The faster a company sees disruption, the faster it adapts to it. You fundamentally shift the entire business from being vulnerable and reactive to being proactive and virtually untouchable.
Now, we have to talk about the strategic reality of implementation, because this part is vital. Hub and Spoke is not magic, and it is absolutely not just some simple warehouse project. It actually increases your strategic complexity. You're creating major dependencies on those central hubs. Therefore, it requires intense scenario modeling and contingency planning, unwavering operational discipline, extremely high-quality supplier coordination, and honestly, most importantly, true leadership maturity. It requires real executive vision to shift the entire operating model of a company.
Which leads us to our final thought. As you visualize a fully synchronized global logistics network just flowing seamlessly, I want you to reflect on this powerful quote from SupplyAccess. Speed does not come from moving faster. Speed comes from positioning smarter. That right there is how world-class supply chains deliver globally within 2 days while somehow maintaining incredible cost structures. It's not about working harder in the chaos. It's about intelligently designing the flow. So, how are you positioning your operational assets today? Think about it.